This is the learning journey from my class ECS 110, Self and Others, entitled Conversation with Self and Others, which seeks to highlight some of the key concepts I've learned during this course. Here goes. So, Julie, how long have you been in Canada? 2 months. You speak English really well. How did you learn so quickly? Actually, I'm from an English-speaking country. How did you come to be here? Well, how did you come to be here? We both came from somewhere. A friend once said to me that his neighbor needed to clean his yard and cut his grass because it looks like an Indian reservation. So I asked the question, are you saying that all First Nations people living on reservations have dirty and unkempt yard? No, that's not what I'm saying, he responded. So what are you saying? Julie, don't make an issue out of it. It's just a saying. Everybody says it. Excuse me, ma'am. So my daughter has been standing here at the front of the line for ages, and you've assisted persons behind her while ignoring her. Why is that? Oh, I didn't notice her. Sorry. So is that because she's short or because she is black? Cue the puzzled what's wrong with this woman look. Somebody once came into my workplace and said, I'd like to speak with the manager. My response was, you are speaking with the manager. Very, very, very pregnant pause. Well, okay, I'll come back another day. Julie, do you feel discriminated against? Well, not all the time. Oh, that's perhaps because you are not First Nations. How come you work as manager, curator for a museum and a visitor information center? What could you possibly know about the culture of your community and Canada in general? You are not from here. 3 years later, and preparing to leave this job to move, I am told it will be a huge loss as I have brought a wealth of experience and transformation to the job. But the reality is that as immigrant, I've had to work harder, longer, sanitize my accent because the general assumption is that it's me who have an accent, although linguistically we all do. I've had to be more aggressive in having my ideas accepting, and I've often had to validate my professional worth simply because I am an immigrant. My name is Julie. I am an immigrant. I am Jamaican. My skin is dark. I am female. I'm a trained professional. For me, the examples cited above are common occurrences. During and after this course, I was able to identify these occurrences as buying into the normative narrative, those taken for granted, unquestioned stories that we tell ourselves about the world and also align with commonly held beliefs. I can now identify my responses in trying to settle these myths as common rebuttals by asking why. Why is that? I was attempting to do what Singleton and Hayes call courageous conversation on racial issues. These are attempts to effectively engage on the issues of race through uncomfortable conversations. I was able to identify white privilege, which according to theorist Peggy McIntosh, are those attendant privileges afforded to whites simply because of their skin color. Previously, this phenomena was foreign to me, having come from a homogeneous culture. I saw this played out in the situation with my daughter waiting at the head of the line and being invisible. What struck me is that the white persons behind did not say, it's not my turn, there's someone ahead of me, but rather claimed the privilege as a right. But what does all this knowledge do for me? Do I just learn and file in the annals of my brain? I am more aware of the different stories, narratives that are part of the Canadian psyche. I like the quotation from Stanley that says, Canadians, in fact, do not have a common history, and no single narrative will ever do. I see myself and my identity being a part of a narrative that forms a grand narrative and my story as important. Consequently, the stories and identities of students are also important coming from diverse cultures and backgrounds. I am also aware of my positionality and those of others, and that subject positions are not value-free, and that the education system and classroom will be a cornucopia of positions which I will have to respect and deal with effectively. Major for me was the difference between equality and the concept of a level playing field. Can we all play on the same field, or do we as educators ensure that differences are accounted for? I saw this played out in a positive way when Audrey allowed me extra time on assignments because my game was not like the rest of the class. If she had leveled the field, I would have been left behind. This impacted me, and I'm very aware of the varying abilities that are at play on a daily basis and that will be at play in the classroom. Lastly, I've had greater awareness of First Nation issues that I was not aware of until I came here. I'm able to draw a parallel with their identity and mine as dispossessed I was able to draw a parallel with their identity and mine as dispossessed colonials. I also recognize that, although I am immigrant, I am a treaty person. I cannot divorce myself from the First Nation issues as I have benefited from the treaties. Someone asked me in one of my self-stories to say what it means to be Canadian, and I said I would respond at the end of the course. Well, I am not Canadian, but I'm a part of the fabric of Canada that perpetuates the fluidity of identity and culture, and I will be a part of the self-stories that my grandchildren, who are Canadians, will tell.